Hello, everyone. My name is Brennan Marr. That noise you're hearing is my ventilator, and welcome to Fambaa Friday. On Page Turners They Were Not, my Star Wars podcast. Fambaa Fridays are when we discuss the Force, or sometimes discuss speculation about the future of Star Wars films and other properties, or other media, I should say. Today, I'm very excited because we are going to talk about Emperor Palpatine. Ah, yes, Darth Sidious himself, who oftentimes is my favorite Star Wars characters. It's kind of a tie between Yoda and Palpatine for who is my favorite Star Wars character. But Palpatine I find to be one of the most interesting and one of the most fun characters to watch in all of his appearances throughout Star Wars media. So let us begin. This morning I went really quickly and I read from the novelization of Star Wars, written by George Lucas, or rather Alan Dean Foster, ghostwriting for George Lucas, but based on the original screenplay. In it, we learned that Palpatine did the things that we see him do in the movies, but according to the book, or the novel, he ended up being controlled by his underlings, and thus a weak emperor. Now, obviously, this was written before the idea of who we would see further down the line came to being. And of course, we have seen that he is not a weak leader. He is all controlling. So let us jump in. We first saw Emperor Palpatine in The Empire Strikes Back. Now, it was a little bit different to what we eventually got. The face that we saw was an actress, I believe by the name of Marjorie Eaton, with sort of these superimposed monkey eyes, dubbed over by British actor Clive Revill. This was in the hologram scene where Darth Vader spoke to the Emperor in The Empire Strikes Back. And it was a very brief scene. But that was the portrayal of the Emperor that we first saw in the original unaltered version of the film. The next appearance of the Emperor was in Return of the Jedi, played by the beloved actor Ian McDiarmid, who is iconic as the Emperor. Now, oddly enough, when he played the Emperor, he would have been probably around 37 years old. The makeup effect to make him look old was honestly quite brilliant. And the story that he tells is that the casting director, who I believe her name is Mary Selway, saw him in a play where he played a Howard Hughes type character. Old and decrepit and falling apart. And this inspired her to cast him in the role. Now, it is important to point out that a different actor had been cast as Palpatine. I believe that was the older British actor named, I believe, Alan Webb. I believe. I may have the wrong name, but he became McDermott took over the role when the other actor was not well and was quite ill and couldn't play it. And oddly enough, that other actor, and I think his name's Alan Webb, I'll have to look it up later, was old, was probably in his 80s at the time. But they went with a much younger actor. Now, let's jump into the character. Now, what do we know? And I'm going to stick just to what we know in the movies. In the original Star Wars film, we hear that the Emperor has dissolved the Galactic Senate. That's about all we know about it. In The Empire Strikes Back, Darth Vader convinces the Emperor that Luke would make a valuable asset if he returned to the dark side. To which the Emperor agrees. Now, I always wondered when I was a kid, why is the Emperor telling Darth Vader, oh yeah, we have a new enemy named Luke, when Vader already knows that it's already looking for him? I would assume that that means that Vader was looking for Luke without the Emperor's knowledge on kind of his own personal quest. And that's about what we get in The Empire Strikes Back. And then we see him in Return of the Jedi. And he is at his best here, and this is probably his most iconic appearance. You will notice that many a Star Wars fan likes to quote the Emperor. Ian McDiarmid chews up the scenery so deliciously that you are completely captivated by this character and can't help but hanging on his every word. What further do we learn about the Emperor throughout the trilogy? You know, we learn that the Emperor had, of course, turned Anakin Skywalker into Darth Vader and turned Anakin to the dark side. We learn that he is a plotter and a schemer and a puppet master. But we really don't know a lot about him in the original trilogy. Other than he gives a great performance, but we don't know much about the character. Now, I know there are a lot of Star Wars fans who felt that Snoke, Supreme Leader Snoke, did not get enough, we didn't get enough information about him in the new films. Well, there was a lot of fan anticipation for the character, which may not have been entirely justified, but as fans, we like to overanalyze everything, but I like to think of it this way. We didn't know much about Palpatine, if you just go by the films. I would say we probably knew about as much and probably saw about as much of Palpatine in the original trilogy as we did Snoke in the new trilogy. So I'm not too concerned, because I think what matters is not how much we know about the character necessarily, It's how well does the character do on screen in those moments. And in the case of Snoke, like Palpatine, the scenes in which we see the character, I think, were meaty scenes with a lot of material there. And that's about all we needed for both characters. Now, I have discussed this with other fans about the appearance of Snoke in The Force Awakens, showing up as a hologram, saying very cryptic things. That's pretty much what Palpatine did in The Empire Strikes Back. So for anyone out there who's concerned that we didn't get enough of Snoke, just consider we didn't get that much in The Emperor, but The Emperor, probably much more than Snoke, left a lasting impression on our minds because he was used well. So it's about how well a character is used. And for my money, I think Snoke was used very well. But that's a discussion for another time. So this is all we know about Palpatine in the original trilogy. Not much, but enough to leave a lasting impression, particularly with McDermott's performance. Now we come to the prequels. Oddly enough, because they had aged up McDermott to play the Emperor, in real life, the actor was the right age to play the younger version of that character. As the humble senator from Naboo, Senator Palpatine. It was also Darth Sidious, but that wasn't revealed until Revenge of the Sith. So in The Phantom Menace, we see Palpatine as a senator from Naboo. We see that through the sympathy that the crisis on Naboo has generated in the Senate, he is able to become Chancellor of the Republic. Supreme Chancellor, and thus the ruler of the Republic. That's really the major beats in his story in The Phantom Menace. We learn, of course, later that he is the Phantom Menace. Now, we jump ahead to Attack of the Clones. We see that Chancellor Palpatine has been in power for 10 years. And is able to manipulate the Senate to give him emergency powers so that he could take possession of the clone army and launch the war against the Separatists. Oddly enough, through manipulating the naive Jar Jar Binks, or should I say Representative Binks, into proposing that to the Senate. They finally gave Representative Binks something to do in the story. And George Lucas finally did. Then we jump, of course, to Revenge of the Sith, where we really get a lot of Palpatine. We finally get the official on-screen revelation that he is Darth Sidious. We get his manipulation of Anakin with the story of Darth Plagueis the Wise. We get his officially taking power and becoming emperor by reorganizing the Republic into the Empire. We see him claim that the Jedi tried to kill him and tried to take over the Republic and could justify the Jedi massacre to the public, Order 66. We see him declare Anakin Skywalker Darth Vader. We see him finally do all these major things. And his story basically comes to an end as far as the movies are concerned. We got a lot more Palpatine in the prequels than we did in the original trilogy. And I think it was quite good. And really, this character, I think, is amazing because he's the ultimate puppet master. He is the leader of both the Separatists and the Republic, thus creating a war between them to justify his taking power as Galactic Emperor. We see him betray Count Dooku so that he can make room to make Anakin his apprentice. We see him pull these strings with deadly and evil precision to make himself ruler of the galaxy. Palpatine, I think, is a great character. I would not be surprised if he wasn't behind Anakin's mother being captured and murdered by the Sand People. And he may have had something to do with that. I certainly wouldn't put it past him. So those are my thoughts on Palpatine. Now, there are rumors. Well, maybe rumors is the wrong word. Fan theories that he might return in some way in Episode 9. I would just like to say, I do not want him to return in the flesh. But if Kylo Ren were to find a holocron, or some kind of holographic projection of the Emperor that was recorded, or something to that effect, I would be totally fine with it. But I doubt we will see him in the flesh again. But that's fine, because he served his purpose. He's a great character. And as far as I'm concerned, one of the highlights of the Star Wars prequels. My name is Brendan Marr. Thank you for tuning in to Fambaa Friday on Page Turners They Were Not, my Star Wars podcast. May the Force be with you.